Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to touch on the process of land ownership. And I believe most of us, or even yourself, listen to this channel, own a piece of land, or even know someone who owns a piece of land. And maybe in one or the other, you've been involved in the process of acquiring that piece of land. And one of the main focus that we give more credit on is make sure that once you pay for the piece of land, is you acquire for the title that comes with that piece of land, may it be a leasehold or a freehold title. But today I want to touch on a point that is critical in that process that most of us tend to ignore. And along the way, it may affect the ownership of that piece of land. And today I want to touch on one critical aspect in land ownership, in title processing. In fact, without that process, you can't actually get that title that you want to secure from the land that you've purchased. And in the last, let's say 50 years, 20 years, our parents, most of us who are millennial, these are processes that even in our documentation, even in our files back at home, we've not completed, especially those who are in circles, those who are in chamas, may it be a women chama, may it be a men's chama. We've not been able to adjudicate this process. And what do I mean? I basically mean a simple process that is called map amendment. It's a simple process, but a critical process in land ownership. What do I mean by map amendment? Map amendment is a legal process that happens at Survey of Kenya. And it involves changing or ensuring that the subdivision scheme that a surveyor have produced on a particular subdivision, that survey process is reflected on an official survey map called Register Index Map, that is RAM. And why is this critical? It's because, for example, as a chama, you've bought a piece of land, let's say 5 acres, and you are 5 of you. And the aim is to make sure that each one of you get an acre of land that is in their own name. So what happens is that you basically bring in a licensed surveyor who prepares a subdivision scheme. And in that subdivision scheme, what basically appears on that map is the numbering from number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of plot numbers. But most of us leave it at that point. And you say, we are 5 of us, you ballot, and each person gets a ballot. Let's say I get number 1. And I think now I own plot number 1. And you think that you are now legally ownership of that number 1. But the fact of the matter is, you are not. Why? It's because that subdivision process has not gone the full fission to a place of making sure each plot number has been adopted into a registry index map. And this is a process that takes in at Survey of Kenya, and this is how it takes place. Of course, the first level is to get a surveyor who does the subdivision scheme, and he submits that drawing basically through an application process of subdivision at the county level, because land is devolved. Once the subdivision scheme has been approved at the county level, the surveyor now takes that subdivision approval to Survey of Kenya. At the Survey of Kenya, the map is adopted as it is, and it goes through the process of file opening through the Director of Survey, and then an invoice is produced and you're required to pay a fees, and then the process takes effect. And once that process takes effect, the outcome is a map called a registry index map, which now bears what we call LL numbers, or the parcel numbers, or the title numbers. Basically, it converts your plot numbers into the title numbers. And these title numbers are the numbers that now are now adopted by the land registrar at the lands office, may it be at the district level or the national registry, and it is through those LN numbers that the titles are produced. So most of us tend to ignore this process, and we jump and we think, because I own a share certificate, because I own a beacon certificate, that's adequate and is a complete ownership. But what I want to tell you today, that is not yet adequate. So I would request you today, if you're in that level, kindly engage a land surveyor to be able to take you through that process. And why do you require a registry index map? Number one is to make sure that the land or the piece of land that you bought as a group, which is a block land over 5 acres, 10 acres, 50 acres, it is to ensure that that ownership, that title, is broken down to each particular subsequent plots. And that can only be possible through map amendment, because it's only through an amended map that you're able to get the subsequent title numbers. Number two, you could have as well actually own those particular piece of land. Maybe you're a group of 5 and you want to join your individual plots to bring in back to one piece of land. Maybe let's say there are 7 plots and you want to join them and make it 1 acre. Again, in this case, you now reverse the subdivision process to a process we call amalgamation. So again, if you go through that process of amalgamation, again, the map must be amended. Ideally, we must remove the individual boundaries and now reflect the map as a block map. Number three is to ensure that you resolve land boundary issues. You find you have a neighbor and you've always had disputes in terms of your boundaries, and you're always fighting, you're always having quarrels. There's no better way of resolving that issue like having an amended map. And most of the time why you have disputes is because the 2 neighbors have not gone through the process of processing the titles of the individual titles. It means that the boundaries they are depending on are boundaries as per the subdivision scheme, this simple map that was produced by the surveyor. So again, to be able to sort out your disputes as neighbors, if you have boundary issues, kindly engage a surveyor and ensure the amended map is produced. And why is that important as a landowner? It confirms that the piece of land that you own is legally documented at Survey of Kenya. And maybe someone would ask you, is it possible to have a title without having an amended map? It is possible, because the 2 processes are a bit disjointed, because the land approval process, the first process is approval at the county level. Amendment of maps happens as at Survey of Kenya. The production of the titles happens at the local registry. So it means that there are 3 offices that have to be visited. And if the surveyor jumps one, in this case maybe Survey of Kenya, and from county and they go direct to the registry, these titles might be produced and you end up having a title, but the map is not yet amended. So my clarion call today is, if you're in a group and you already produced a subdivision scheme from a surveyor, and your intentions is to make sure that each of you get a title, it is upon you to make sure that you push that process to the point of amending that particular map. Because the first level is get approval from the county government, Then go to the Survey of Kenya, have your map amended, and then now go to the local registry and have your titles produced. And even as you're buying a piece of land out there, in my carry-on call on due diligence, one of the due diligence process is to confirm whether the piece of land that you're buying has an amended map, whether the piece of land that you're buying has a registered LL number. And if the developer has not done so, the onus is yours, of course, to do a search on the mother title, to get the map on the block title, and then make sure the timelines are given as to when the amended map shall be produced. Because it's until the amended map is produced that you are sure that your title shall be out. So that's a very critical process, and it's a process that can be easily handled by a licensed surveyor. Procure one. We can refer one to you so that you have a complete documentation of your land ownership. If you have a dispute with your neighbor because of the boundary issue, kindly have your boundary regularized by having an amended map. So take time, click the like button, do like the page, and also share to other people so that we're able to produce these materials and educate our membership out there. See you in the next one.